Are you really ready to fuel your success as an investor in your personal mindset and being part of a community that wants every person to succeed? Welcome to the Thriving Investor Podcast with author, educator, successful non-traditional investor, Troy Fullwood. Turn up the volume and let's get you set up to thrive.
All right. Well, welcome back, everybody. This is Troy Fullwood from the Thriving Investor Show. And today I've got an amazing friend with me and guest, Mr. Todd Fleming, co-founder and mentor of his real estate group there located in Northeast Ohio. Give you a little insight to Todd. He began his real estate journey with only $11 in his checking account. I think he had $1 more than me. When he started and began flipping property with none of his own money until he started building his very own portfolio of single and multifamily properties, and even including mobile homes and a few notes sprinkled throughout. Now, you guys know I love notes, and that's one of the fun things that Todd and I have talked about over the last couple months. Todd has an unwavering passion for teaching mindset, financial freedom techniques, alongside of his creative acquisition strategies. And he's the best-selling author of If You Can't Flip After This, There's Nothing I Can Do For You. Is that correct?
You can't wholesale after this.
You can't wholesale after this. Oh, man. I was like...
In your defense, it is a mouthful, but I do love the title, though.
I love the title. The first time I saw the book, I'm like, I got to talk to this guy. I got to figure out where he came up with this, because it's brilliant. It's a brilliant title and a great book, and that's exciting. That's really exciting. So Todd, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Yep.
Okay, awesome. So you have a very modest bio, which I don't think really dives deep into all the amazing things you're accomplished. But one of the things I always love to talk about with our guests is just really like, what's your story? Like what led you to real estate, and how did you get started? And I'd love to hear that part and share it with our listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. So originally, I never had a 9-to-5 job until I was 23 or 24. I was trying to play professional baseball. So I played all the way up and through college, played in the MAC. And then when those opportunities finally kind of fizzled out, I had to find something to do. So naturally, I was like, okay, I got to survive, so I'm going to go get a job. And I worked a couple odd-end jobs, and then ended up being so what I ended up typically doing, which I hated, was I ended up, for whatever reason, on the phones selling. And I don't know if you've ever done phone sales before. Horrible. You just end up spending all day long in a cubicle and spending kind of like you're whittling your life away. And I had found zero fulfillment in it. I wasn't making very much. And I knew at some point if baseball didn't work out, I always wanted to have something on my own. And that's kind of when I started my entrepreneurial journey of trying to figure that out. So actually, right before real estate, I tried a few different things, ended up in day trading. I was actually a full-time day trader in the stock market before I dove into real estate. And the big reason for me diving into real estate was no matter how much money I had, it was always in the markets when I was trading. So whether I had $5 or $50,000, it didn't matter. I couldn't buy a sandwich comfortably because it was all in the market. I had no liquidity whatsoever. It was super frustrating. Okay. And I also found myself sitting behind a desk for watching every tick for 12 hours a day. And I was like, this is what I hated before. This doesn't make sense. So what ended up happening was I had always thought about real estate. It was always in my mind. And so I actually ended up getting into real estate to try and supplement my income and have a little more liquidity. And my mom, of all people, cut out an article from the newspaper, which is that crazy gray thing.
Don't you love moms?
Yeah, thank you, Mom. Yeah, thank you, Mom, everywhere. Yeah, like I got to thank her all the time now, right? So that's actually where it all started, was with her cutting out an article from a broker that was looking for an agent. Now, I wasn't an agent, but they were willing to sponsor somebody for going through the classes. I still had to pay for them, but and already having a broker set up, I didn't have to go through any other hoops. And so I went through the classes, paid for that, And literally just a couple weeks into being an agent, I realized that I was a worker bee, which was totally not what I wanted. So I was like back to square one. But at that point, I had my license. I had enough knowledge to start looking for, if I want to be in real estate, how can I do it? I don't have any money at this point. It took me, almost a year to figure all this out. So I had made no money in between that time. And then that's when I discovered through another entrepreneurial group that I'm a part of, that you could get into real estate with actually no money and no risk if you do it correctly, and you start putting contracts together and buyers and sellers together. So that which is what's called wholesaling, which is the art of just putting a problematic seller with a buyer, for the most part, solving a problem for a seller, solving a problem for a buyer, and you can get a cut in the middle. So that's how I started. My first deal I made $7,000, and when I closed that deal, no joke, I checked my bank account before walking up into closing, and I had $11 in my checking account, and I walked out with.
Close.
Yeah, it was bad. Yeah, it was bad. I was like, okay, I get it. So it was like the biggest $7,000 I ever made in my life, and I was off to the races after that.
Very nice. Very nice. What, in this business, you've been at it for a while. I've been at it for a while. And when you get to our level in the business, we tend to kind of, for lack of better words, we tend to make it look easy, and you being coming from baseball, you look at the major players and they're out there and they make it look easy as can be. But there's a lot of work that leads up to that position or that success. And, with that being said, like we'll cover both sides, because I believe in both the good and the bad in learning from both sides. But what's the most challenging deal you've ever done? Like the one that comes right to mind.
I think it's actually the first one. Well, I mean, I have some more recent stories for like holding properties. So, I mean, I can tell you from both sides. So like in the beginning, the most difficult part in the beginning was figuring out all the little nuances and like learning what to actually focus on, because it's so easy to have this shiny object syndrome where everything looks good.
Right.
And especially in real estate too, like, okay, I want to do wholesaling, but apartment complexes look great, and I hear that you don't need any money, and you end up being back and forth, and then you learn about notes. Like, what is a note? I have no idea what a note is. Like, it turns out it's a term for promissory note. Oh, what's a promissory note? So you end up going back and forth a lot. So in the beginning, the toughest part for me was really learning what to focus on.
Okay.
So once I learned what to focus on, I was able to get that first deal done. Okay, I just need to focus on getting in front of sellers. Okay. I'm in front of sellers now. What do I need to do? I need to pair them with somebody that I have a network that's actually buying houses.
Nice.
Okay, so-and-so will fit. Does this work for everybody? Yes. First deal comes together. At that point, it's like, okay, I can keep this simple. It doesn't need to be complicated. I need to have this motivation and this person ready to solve their problem, and I can, put them together and bring value to both of them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, in the very beginning, that was the toughest thing for me. And then staying consistent after that. Because when you go from broke to having a bunch of money, not a bunch of money, but like a little security, you kind of tend to like fall off a little bit. So then I had to like learn how to be consistent and be in different parts of the business.
Okay.
But more recently, the toughest thing I've ever gone through in real estate, I recently bought a house. I bought it for $15,000.
Okay.
Which a lot of places you can't do. I understand that. But in Northeast Ohio, I'm blessed with being able to buy a single family home for $15,000. Because when you find problems to solve, like the numbers go away, right? So $15,000 solved the problem, so I was able to buy it. I put about $7,500 in it, so I was about $22,500 into it. It was going to be a nice new one-bed rental. Had a tenant lined up, and the weekend before the tenant moved in, I had squatters break in and move in.
Oh.
And it took me 60 days to get them out through the court system.
Wow.
And completely annihilated the property. They flooded the house before they left. I joke with everybody that I found the third. So I found the third and final wet bandit from the Home Alone series. so after that happened, they caused $18,000 in damage. So I'm $40,000 into this house now, and literally, as of recording this today, my tenant moves in 2 days. The original tenant waited for me because of how we treat our tenants, and we create a great experience, and we have nice property, which really goes into like just reassuring that we're running our business the right way. But things like this just happen, and it's tough to prepare for them sometimes. But that's absolutely the toughest thing I've gone through in real estate and mentally just in business in general, because when you have someone stealing from you for 60 days and you literally can't do anything about it, you have no rights in the situation, it's really, really difficult.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a tough scenario, whether it's in business or just in, personal life, when you've got that, I guess, unforeseen betrayal that kind of catches you off guard, and you're helpless. You're helpless in the situation. But that's great, though. I mean, obviously, it's a testament to you and your team in regards to how you took care of the future tenant, and her or them sticking with you and going through the process. And that says that I want to talk about that for a minute, because it really, in our industry, let's just say we don't necessarily have the best reputation in the world as far as real estate investors and things like that, especially at street level positioning. It's refreshing to hear that you'll go the extra mile. And we've always had that theory here in our business, in our company as well. When we sell notes and things of that nature, we want to make sure that those are solid deals and that they're working for other people. And so it's just refreshing to hear that, I guess, at the end of the day. I just compliment you for that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. A goal of mine is literally to change that aspect and that reputation, because unfortunately there are a lot of investors who have bad reputations because they want to take more than they want to give.
Right.
But it's funny because when you run your business like that, you actually just suck all the value out of it and you're left with nothing.
Right.
Meanwhile, if you give everything back, it pays you, literally pays you forever. So at the end of the day, with like this situation, it was I can't even put into words how excruciating it was at times to have something like this happening and not being able to protect yourself or the property. But who I really felt for was my end tenant. She was the one who was now stuck in a situation where she had already moved out of her property, because she was moving the next day.
Yeah.
The next day she was moving. Storage units cleaned out, moving trucks ready, you know what I mean? And now she's going to be out 60 days. Like, where does she go? So she's had to stay with friends and like move around, like super painful for her. She's out the situation.
Sure.
It happened to be a tenant who we use what's called AMHA, which is basically Section 8, but it's for Akron, Ohio specifically. But they have a great system. They have a great intake system, so you find great people. And she happened to have a voucher for that, so we had to deal with the city at that point because the city's not happy. Like it became a nightmare, and I had to continuously remind myself throughout that situation that, one, she's the one that's out, right? Like, I'm going to be out some money here, but like I can always make more money. She's out of a place to live right now.
Yeah, she doesn't have a roof over her head.
Yeah, I had to continuously remind myself that this problem isn't real, because most people create problems that aren't real. Like, this wasn't even a real problem. At the end of the day, it's not a real problem. And what reminded me of that is that I have a great neighbor for where I personally live. I came home like the day after I learned about this happening.
Okay.
And the summer before, he was outside every day. He's got like this immaculate garden that he's built. Like, great guy.
Oh, wow.
And the day after I learned about this, I came out and they were setting up a indoor hospital bed for him, or in-house hospital bed for him. Like, that's a real problem.
Sure.
Like how many people would trade my theoretical problem for his?
Right.
Everybody. Right? Like, they're like, yeah, give me the $18,000 problem versus like the end.
Yeah.
Like, that's a real problem. Like, the real end is like, or a problem is like crippling or like end game creating. And this was just a hiccup in a learning experience. Painful one, but a learning experience nonetheless.
Well, the beautiful thing about, in the world that we live in, it's an infinite world that we live in. And money is just a vehicle. And so there was obviously some inconvenience there and a few extra dollars out of your pocket. And it'll probably take you a little while to realize your full return and all those other things that go with real estate. But it really puts it in perspective when you come home and you see your neighbor dealing with life-ending decisions. And it certainly is a grounding situation. It speaks to, you mentioned there about, can't remember the exact phrase you used, but it was one of basically giving. When you're talking about giving and always giving value, giving it away. And it reminds me of a great book. I don't know if you've ever read this, but if you have, then you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. If you haven't, you can get it on Amazon. It's called Living on the Third River. And it talks about three men who live on three different rivers and how they manage those rivers. And you're definitely a person living on the third river. And I'll leave it at that. I'm not going to spoil the book for you. I'm not going to tell you the ending or the chapter.
It sounds like a good one. Now I'm into it. Now I'm like, I want to know more.
Yeah, it's an easy read. I think it's like 100 pages or something like that. But it's very biblically based, and obviously you're a man of faith, and that speaks to the volumes of your success. And it's funny because I personally have found in my life, in general, where the more we operate as more of a conduit to the world we live in, the more that we're trusted with greater responsibilities and greater opportunities, because we're not acting like a stopper or a plug or a cul-de-sac per se. We're allowing things to kind of come on through, and we get to benefit from it, whatever we choose that to look like, or whatever is chosen for us. But at the end of the day, it's powerful. What's been one of your, say, that last story I would consider to be definitely a success given the end and how you took care of your client. But what's one of, like, was a slam dunk, easy deal type thing that you remember was like one of those? Like, I remember one of the first times I ever did a note deal in 72 hours. It was like finished in 72 hours, paid, done. And what have you ever done in my life? Let's just say they've only happened a handful of times in 22 years. But tell me about one of those types of deals.
So ironically enough, one of those deals was happening directly alongside at the same timeline of this one.
Okay.
So one that was just like the easiest one ever, and then while the squatter situation's going on, so this other one, in a better area, house is worth in between 100 and 110, and so how I came about it was I tell everybody, you got to tell everybody what you do. Mm-hmm. Absolutely everybody. If you want to start something, you can't keep it a secret. Naturally, everybody wants to keep it a secret because they're like fearful and they don't want people to think differently about them.
Sure.
But the first thing to success is you got to talk to strangers and put it out there. So like, not what we're taught all our lives, but we got to ask great questions and put out what we want to do. Yeah. So super uncomfortable because we're talking to strangers all the time. So I had a guy that did some renovation work for me on the squatter house before the squatter moved in. So This guy had done some work on the house, and he went and advertised the work that he had done. Like, just he showed a couple pictures of his work and said, like, hey, I've done this. I'm looking for more work. He asked me if that was okay. I said, of course. And so he ended up getting another bathroom. He did a bathroom for me. He got another bathroom job from another couple. Nice. And he went to the house, and he was renovating their bathroom. And he overheard them talking about how she had to get rid of her father's house because he was going into Medicare or nursing home, whatever the situation was. So they had to liquidate assets.
Sure.
And he interrupts him and he goes, hey, I know a guy that'll buy that. That guy was me. So I'm the only guy with eyes on this. They call me. I go look at the house. The house needs painted. That's it.
Oh, wow.
I ask them, what can I do for you? How can I best serve you? What do you need? They said, we need $50,000. Done. So literally $50,000 in equity like that, simply from asking how I can best serve. They said a number. I paid them the number. And that was it. We closed on it like a week and a half later, 2 weeks later. And I immediately accepted $50,000 of equity into my life before, like, while the squatter situation's going on. So, and that house was going to be a flip. I was just going to paint it and then resell it. And then it actually worked out that, hey man, why don't I keep this? Because it'll rent for $1,100 for me, and it'll create options and flexibility for me. So at this point, we don't have any debt on it, and I can pull money from it at some point. And in this area, I can buy 3 or 4 houses with that. That'll rent for $700 to $1,000 a piece. So I can actually create another $4,000 in cash flow a month from that if I ended up keeping it. So we ended up keeping it.
Nice. Don't you love when those deals just kind of land in your lap? But
Yeah, I do. Like, I've bought some houses for 2, 3, 4, 5 grand before, a
Uh-huh.
handful of them, honestly. And some of those worked. I mean, some of those worked out better than others. They all made money. When you buy it that well, you're going to make money. But the one that we're talking about right now, yeah, I would take 100 more of those all day long.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I love about those types of experiences, and I'm glad it's exciting for me personally, is that I'm sitting here listening to your story. What I love about it is that we experience things like that in our business on a regular basis, and I don't know how to explain it to people. To me, it's a universal thing because it's about the gift of giving, and you're giving out to, like, you allow that gentleman to take pictures of the work he did and to help him build his business and to help him succeed, and then with no expectation whatsoever on it. And here he goes, and he's blessed with a new bathroom remodel. Out of that comes a conversation about the couple's needing to sell their father's house, and all of a sudden it comes back around, and so many times people will tend to overthink the process, where they want to, if they're going to give something, they want to get something like within 24 hours, otherwise it doesn't have value. But yet, if you give and you just put it out there, undoubtedly it'll come back to you tenfold in some fashion, whatever that is. Maybe it's a house, maybe it's a vacation. I just saw a friend of mine who gave away his car in February. He's given away 14 cars over his lifetime. He uses them for a while, and then he just gives them away. He tithes them into other people's lives. And he was blessed with a brand new Audi for free yesterday.
Okay, so my wife and I just donated a car. An Audi would be great. No joke. We literally just donated a car. Not just a couple, like literally just a couple weeks ago. So I am open to receiving a brand new Audi for free. That's incredible. Just giving uncontrolled, like not uncontrolled, like with severe consistency.
Yes. Yeah.
Sincere consistency. Just continuously give and be open to receiving it coming back to you. The best way I can explain that to people too, I learned this from my favorite book series ever, which is called The Go-Giver.
Yes.
They talk about like being open to receiving, because a lot of people, like some people give, and they find themselves in trouble. And then others ask, like, how do you not get in trouble if you continuously give?
Yeah.
We have to be open to receiving as well. So yes, the Go-Giver is amazing. Yeah. And if you just continue, like, to tell you that it's okay to receive, like to convince people it's okay to receive, simply ask them to exhale until you're done counting to 30. And just count to 30 really, really slowly, and they'll eventually suck in. And you go, see, it's okay to take in. You have to take in to give out. So the more you take in, the more you can give out. The more you give out, the more you can take in. So it just becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I'm glad to hear that we have a favorite, one of minis. I'm sure we've talked quite a bit about a lot of different things, but the Go-Giver series is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. I love all of them.
I think that the flip side of that is, oftentimes people will come into our space in our business, and they come into it with like a element of fear. Like they're fearful that somebody's going to take something from them and somebody's going to do something to them. And I love that you shared the story about this squatter, because there's two ways to really look at that scenario. Number one is, they're destroying a beautifully remodeled house, and they're upending your life, and I'm sure there were some legal costs associated with getting them out, and the extra time and money and energy. And you can certainly look at that, and you can find yourself being angry and irritated and frustrated. And I'm sure there was a moment there in the beginning where you're just like, this is ridiculous that this is even happening. But I think it speaks volumes to successful entrepreneurs like yourself and myself that we can look at something and we get punched in the face. I like Mike Tyson's, quote, and he says, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. And you did, like, you had this plan, and you had this you had this great plan, and by all intents and means, it was perfectly executed, and then you got punched in the face. And it's really that punch in the face moment that will be that deciding factor on whether or not a person gets back up with a good attitude or a bad attitude, or they don't even get up at all, or they run the other direction. And every entrepreneur that I've ever met that's been successful has been punched in the face. And it doesn't matter what industry it's in, even this industry or outside of this industry. It's just to me, it's a barrier to entry to being successful. But I also think it's a maturing process as well. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's definitely a journey for sure. Early on in my career, I probably don't. I mean, not probably. I definitely don't handle it as well as I do now. But the transition that happens as you gain more and more experience and get better and better. That's the greatest quote in the world, by the way. Everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face, because it's so true. And it's not that every entrepreneur that I know has been punched in the face. It's over and over. It's like it's a struggle. Like, yeah. Doing things outside of the norm is definitely a struggle, but the rewards on the back end are just so fulfilling that you live this life that you couldn't dream of.
Yeah.
And it's difficult to transition. Sometimes it's difficult to transition to understanding. So in looking at that problem and that story, that I can honestly tell myself, I am so blessed to have that type of problem.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, no matter if it took 30 days, 45 days, 60 days, 90 days, it doesn't matter if it took a year. It doesn't matter if it took a year and even more money. At the end of the day, I own so much nice property. That people who can't afford it want to stay in it.
Right.
Their problem at the end of the day, I had 6 people in a 700 square foot, 1 bedroom, 1 bath house with 2 pit bulls and chickens. Like, it got wild. I'm telling you, it was unbelievable. The cops called like 12 times because the revving motorcycles outside next to the neighbors, and the neighbors were unhappy. It got wild. But at the end of the day, my problem was that I own a lot of property and I'm building my wealth. And their problem at the end of the day was that they have drug issues, family issues, nowhere to stay, and they got to find the next place to go get into. Like, I would much rather have my problems, even though they were emotional, like, at times, because you're being stolen from, and it's difficult to deal with that.
Sure.
But being able to look at that and understand that you have a blessing, like, thank you God for that type of problem. Like, my son's healthy, wife's healthy, we have a great home to live in, like, we have other assets. Like, it almost completely didn't even affect, like, the way the business runs or anything because of the way we've built it. So what an experience.
Well, so like we were going to do this podcast, like, I think a week ago or something. I think it was last week or something like that. And you called our office. You said, "Hey, I can't do it today. I'm home. My son's not feeling good. I've got to take care of him." And I thought of when my staff said, "Hey, Todd's got to reschedule," I was like really grateful for that. Not because I didn't have time for the call, but what I loved about it was your spirit about where your priorities were. And your priorities were with your family, the people that you're raising and growing and living life with. And to me, it ratcheted up my respect for you as a whole, and being in business. That's one of the reasons why we do what we do, and we work out of our house. I mean, you're at your house, I'm here in my house, and we work out of our house because we want to build a life by design. And that life by design, when we do get those, punch in the face situations, we still have the opportunity to look around and go, okay, I'm still accomplishing what I want to accomplish, and I'm building what I want to build, and I'm role modeling for my children what's possible in their life, that they don't have to be a slave to a corporate job or to some industry that they don't like. And I'm not saying corporate jobs are the worst thing in the world. I've got family members that have amazing corporate jobs. But I also know that they're at work 70 hours a week too. And they don't.
I have the greatest way ever to describe that as a win or a loss.
What's that?
I have the greatest way ever to explain that as a win or a loss. If you're at a corporate job,
and
you realize that you have a choice, because this is all about choice. Your life is completely your choice. All the outcomes are just the sum of the actions that you've put in so far.
Yeah.
If you're at the job and you understand that you have a choice to be at that job and it's fulfilling to you, what a huge success. That's amazing. Awesome. But if you're at the job and you don't realize that you have other choices and that you're just conforming because everybody else is, that's actually the ultimate failure. So
Yeah.
just be aware that you do have that choice. So like anytime that anybody mentions corporate jobs or anything like that, it's not actually in a negative fashion. It's just in a fashion of understanding choice.
Absolutely. My mom, who's a life coach, she always says, everything is just a choice, like what you just said. Everything's just a choice. There's no such thing as a good choice or a bad choice. It's just a choice. And if you make a choice and it doesn't turn out the way that you thought it would, or you wanted it to, or you'd hoped it would, it doesn't mean you made a wrong choice. It just means you get a chance to make another choice on what you want to do with that. And that's coming from baseball. I mean, I love the fact you're wearing the D-backs hat. You're representing from far, far away, which is great. Playing baseball, it's a choice to swing at the ball. And you can stand there and you can wait till they walk you, or you can, swing at it. And if you don't hit it, you strike, then you make another choice. So that's awesome. That's awesome.
I approach life like baseball. Swing hard in case you hit it.
That's a good one.
You swing hard, you hit it, you're going to do good things. So that's what I'm going for.
Swing hard in case you hit it. Man, I love that one. That's a bumper sticker right there. That is a bumper sticker.
My life motto right there. That's my life's direction. Swing hard in case you hit it.
Well, I love the game of baseball. I mean, I never played it like you did, but I love going to the D-backs games, and my little boys play it. My twins do, and my older boys used to play it until it became uncool or whatever it was that teenagers do. And but I just love the metaphors that go with baseball. At the end of the day, there's so many great. It is America's game, as far as I'm concerned. So
I apply so much of the lessons that I've learned in life to baseball. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like the competition, the consistency, the repetition. The big one is the practice of repeating the basics.
Yeah.
So when people ask me how to scale, hey, I've done a deal or two. How do I get to a level where I'm doing 5 or 6? Well, what are you doing right now to get 1 or 2? I'm doing this, this, and this. Well, literally just take those and multiply them by 3 and you'll have 6.
Yeah.
Like that's how the business works. Like once you can break it down to a point where you understand what you're putting out to what you receive, all you have to do is just increase the output. Now, I'm not saying that you just do that because then you're just going to own a job. I don't want you to own a job.
Sure.
So I literally just announced my second book, and a big piece of that is scaling, creating teams, and understanding how financial literacy works. That way you can create a business that flourishes for you, transition to notes or rentals, whatever you want to do.
Very nice.
Yeah, a big piece of that is understanding that, okay, I need to increase my output to increase my income or my intake. And to do that, there's only 24 hours in a day. Is it more effective for me to work 24 hours a day, which is totally unrealistic and impossible, or have 3 people working 8? It's probably more realistic to have 3 people working 8, and you're going to do even more. So, and that's how you exit your business too. That's how you build a business outside of yourself, and you can have a team, and you can do what's most important for the business, and then everybody else can be filling their roles, and you can help support other families, and pretty soon you have your own machine that's growing out that's helping everybody.
That's great insight, because it goes. So a friend of mine, he's a clinic coach for the Arizona Diamondbacks, and so like during the summertime and the fall breaks and stuff like that, the Arizona Diamondbacks puts on all these clinics for kids at different ages, and so he's been in that organization for 10 years. And my son went to one of his clinics. This was years ago when my 14-year-old played ball. And I remember I was sitting there on the bench, and he was sitting there with the kids, and he says, this is a 5-day clinic. He says, okay, we're not here to hit home runs. We're not here to do this. We're not here to do that. Our next 5 days, we are going to be working on the foundational aspects to learning the game of baseball. In other words, how to properly catch the ball, how to do this, how to do that. And he said, and he emphasized by saying, when a major league ball player gets sent down to the minors, it's not because they're a terrible ball player. It's because they've forgotten the basics of baseball. It's somewhere in their game, whether it's catching, hitting, throwing, whatever it may be. And it really that was an eye-opener. That was like one of those aha moments for me in realizing that was critical for, 1, a player, but 2, as a team, that everybody's foundational skill is solid all the time. And then they can raise them up. And that's why the major players go down to the minor leagues, is so that they can get that more personalized coaching to help them get the funk out, I guess, which sometimes happens, I guess, because we're human beings. We're not robots. We're human beings, and those things happen. So cool stuff.
Yeah. And the foundation is what makes you recession proof too.
Yeah.
When you have a great, big, strong foundation, like, it's okay to take time and build a foundation. Everybody wants to be a millionaire tomorrow. They've never made 50 grand in a year, but they gotta make $1 million this year, or they're going to be a failure.
Right.
It's just not the case. Learn how to make 75. Next year, learn how to make 100, then 125, then 250, then maybe 300. And you learn the scalability of your business. You learn that by building a foundation, you're able to scale the income without having to scale the time in the operations, which is huge. It's the only way to hit enough scale, right? So if Apple comes out with another phone, which they inevitably will, and it'll be overpriced and people will buy it, all the Apple lovers are going, hey, I hate this guy. I'm not an Apple hater. I'm just saying that I understand true value, and a $1,500 phone is not actually worth $1,500. So when they have the assembly line, right, if they want to pump out more phones, do they need more people? No. Like, they just put out more phones, and then there's a reason they hit $1 trillion in valuation for the first company ever to do that, because they understand scaling and having a foundation. Like, they have a foundation built.
Yeah.
Like, their foundation is in their service, and then they're like the sexiness and sleekness and simplicity of their product. They're not going to put out a super complicated, overly complicated product because it doesn't fit their foundation that they've built.
Sure. Well, that makes a lot of sense. And they didn't build the foundation last year. They built it at the first model, and they just fine-tuned it, perfected it, tweaked it, modified it along the way. So,
exactly. Go back to their first computer. Like, when Jobs and Wozniak built their first one or first two ones, like, when they put everything into one, they wanted it to look better than maybe even that it operated. So their foundation was built like in their first two products, just like you just mentioned, and then they scaled on that. They're not reaching all over the place trying to figure out, well, today I want to buy a 2-story. Tomorrow I'm going to buy a single family or ranch style. And then the next day I'm going to buy an apartment building. No, figure out a criteria, build a foundation, take your time, build some notes, but get some repeat income, and then scale off that.
Yeah, no, that's great advice, because I agree with you. A lot of times, so many times people get in the business, and even in the note business and the wholesaling of notes and stuff, and they get in it and they think that, the most they've ever made is $50,000 a year, and they want to go from 50 to $1 million, or they want to go from 50 to 2 million in 90 days. And it's just not possible. But so I always love asking. We got a couple questions, and then we'll wrap this up. So what's the greatest book you've ever read or would like to share?
Oh boy. What a difficult question. The single greatest book I've ever read. Oh man.
Or it could be a couple of them, if you're reading some right now. Or
Principles by Ray Dalio. Insanely good book. Insanely good. The most important book that I've ever read would be The Richest Man in Babylon by George S. Clason. Okay. I'm gonna go with Richest Man in Babylon, because there's so many other ones that you could go with. There's so many good ones out there that have affected my life to a certain level that you couldn't imagine, like The One Thing and Third Circle Theory and All About Self-Awareness. I mean, there's so many out there that are fantastic that affected my life. Think and Grow Rich being another. But The Richest Man in Babylon creates the mind and gives you the actionable steps that you need to be financially secure, and gives you a plan. And if you have a financial plan, you have more options in life and you can get further. I think that one actually touches because there's your universal laws too. They're principles, they're financial principles that if you apply today, your life will literally be better. When I read that book, I applied it immediately and my life changed. That's the most influential book that I've ever read, I think that's the one book that I think everybody should read.
No, that's great suggestion. And I read it myself, so I would definitely second that as a top quality.
That's a difficult question. I immediately started running. I ran through 30 books in my head. Immediately, I was like, oh boy, which one do I pick?
Where were you 5 years ago, and where will you be in 5 years from today? So where were you 5 years ago, and then where do you think you're going to be in 5 years from today?
5 years ago was that transitionary period from like day trading to real estate.
Okay.
Let's just get to that point. I'm in a 2-bedroom apartment, really struggling day to day, depending on family and friends to pay bills, which never feels good. You want to feel like a man, have like your new girlfriend help you pay bills. That's not good. Like if you want to feel like a real provider, really, really struggling day to day. More importantly than the financial struggle, really struggling mentally, struggling with focus, struggling with purpose, drive, direction, which is a really, really dangerous place to be.
Mm-hmm.
So I was not in good shape 5 years ago, not a person that I would ever want to be again. And also, I believe that I have the awareness today that I would be able to recognize if I was falling down that path. But in doing the actions, staying consistent in developing my true purpose, which is to end financial suffering for others. That's why I do so much education stuff. Really having that direction and purpose is really not only fulfilled, but just gives you boundless and endless energy. It pulls you to that finish line as opposed to you pushing to it, because if you're pushing to something, you get tired. But if you're being pulled, it doesn't matter if you're tired or not. You're just going to it.
Sure.
And in 5 years, without a question, flourishing real estate portfolio, which I'm really excited about. You know, it literally grows every day right now. So it's exciting to see where that's at. I'd always planned on having a large multifamily or commercial like branch to my business.
Okay.
I can definitely see that being growing at that point versus a big focus on just single family, which is like where my foundation of my business is in notes and single family rentals.
Sure.
So I'd love to see that in 5 years. And location wise, that's a good question. Probably somewhere with better weather than Northeast Ohio. I actually like Ohio. A lot of people hate on Ohio. I actually really like Ohio.
Yeah.
But with every winter, my friend, I might have a house in Ohio to stay in like during the summer and things like that. But every winter, I'm going to be somewhere warm. That's where I'm at in 5 years.
Me being in the desert, being a desert rat my whole life, you know, our plan is we got about 3.5, 4 years. My 14-year-old graduates high school. We're going to move closer to the ocean, and
that's where I want to be too. Ocean.
Yeah, I want to be by the water. We were looking at North and South Carolina until last week. We may have to rethink that idea.
That's where we were looking originally too.
See, we just maybe go buy a big compound or something.
Right. I'm totally open to that.
Wouldn't that be kind of wild? We had like we just built a whole neighborhood for like real estate investors, and you know, we just had like a little like, I don't know, like meeting place at the end of the street or something like that. You know,
I have a friend that literally mapped that out and like had like self-sustaining, had like its own schools within it and grocery stores, everything. That way, like the mindset was always like top notch. I was like, yeah, that's amazing.
It actually, when you think about it, it really is. You know, something like that needs to be created to cultivate that entrepreneurial spirit inside of the younger men and women around their country. And it's starting to happen, which is really good. But to have it around real estate, that would be powerful. That'd be really powerful. In what way do you enjoy giving back?
In all ways, honestly. There is something about giving back that's just fulfilling that you can't really put a word to for whatever reason in my, or not in my vocabulary at least. There's just a feeling that you get. Prime example is giving or donating the car. Like seeing the situation that they're in, the opportunity to receive the car. I'm really, really blessed and happy that they were open to receiving the car, which is half the giving, right? If they're not open to receiving, you're not going to.
Yeah.
Then my internet cuts out. Sorry. And then, so if they're not open to receiving, you know, you're not going to be great at giving. So I'm, you know, blessed and happy that they were open to receiving the car. And overall, the feeling of giving and understanding that if it need be, it'll come back to you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to come back to you at greater levels, which will give you the opportunity to give again. So whether that's financially, with your time, material, resources, it doesn't really matter. From what I've seen, being the better person or being being the best person that you can be typically creates better people around you as well. So, hate can't be defeated with hate. The only thing that defeats hate is love. And even if that person's not going to love you right back or something, whatever situation is going to love you right back at some point, somewhere, people are going to realize who the positive one is and who's the giving one and who they're going to support, which in the end makes it better for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. No, there's a feeling that comes, there's no, when you get to our age, or you start maturing as an investor, like we have, and you start seeing the abundance of opportunity out there. And then you see the abundance of being able to bless other people or be a blessing in other people's lives, whether it's a car, whether it's whether it's a dinner, a meal, and whatever that may be. And one of the favorite things I love doing, I have a couple of them. I like talking about or going and doing. I like going to schools and talking or meeting with their cafeteria personnel and finding out which lunch accounts have negative balances on them, and then just paying them, like bringing them up to.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then above. So, and most of them are, it's not like a $10,000 type gift. It's, a couple $100, and you can, kids can they don't have to have the backup meal. They can have the same meal as their peers are having, so they're not looked down upon. Kids can be pretty hard on one another.
Kids are brutal, man. You want to learn about giving. Woo. Yeah.
I love doing things like that. That's one of the things I like doing. So let's, man, I hate bringing this to an end because this is always like the worst part, because when I enjoy these kind of podcasts, it's like, oh man, it's that, all good things must come to an end, but I don't believe that this is the end. I think it's just, we'll wrap this up, and we'll love to have you back on for another podcast, down the road. When you've got time, we'll compare schedules. How can our listeners get a hold of you? How can they get a hold of your book? Where can they buy your book at? And love to hear that.
Absolutely. Yeah. First of all, honor was all mine. So thank you for the invitation to be on. It was really exciting. I absolutely loved it. Secondly, you can buy my book. It's called If You Can't Wholesale After This, I've Got Nothing For You. It's split in two halves. The first half is building you up, getting you strong enough to actually get your first deal done or help you scale your business, getting your mind right. That way, when you do inevitably hit a problem, not necessarily squatter house level, but when you hit a problem in your business early on, you'll be able to get through it, which is really important. And then the second piece of the book is literally a step-by-step guide to you getting your deal. So if you read the book and take action while you're reading the book, by the time you're done reading the book, you'll have your first deal. You can find that on Amazon. Again, that's called If You Can't Wholesale After This, I've Got Nothing For You. My second book was just announced. It's called If You Can't Cash Flow After This, I've Got Nothing For You. It's a similar setup, but it's all about notes and repeating income. So rental properties, that kind of deal.
Nice.
And then I am really focused on Instagram right now. So you can follow me at Todd_M as in Michael _Fleming. And I'm always putting content out there and really looking to add value to people there. So if you have questions, feel free to DM me. If you've read the book or have questions, feel free to reach out and I'll do my best to get back with you.
Wow, that's great. Well, thank you so much, Todd. I appreciate your time today. And like I said, ladies and gentlemen, if you've enjoyed today's podcast, give us a rating, give us some 5 stars. Appreciate that. And if you've enjoyed our conversation with Todd, go and grab his book and support him, and don't forget to leave him a positive rating as well. You can follow him on Instagram. You can follow me on Instagram or Facebook as well. So with that being said, thank you so much, everybody. Have a great day. Have a great week. Take care. God bless. Bye now.
Thank you for listening and being a part of the thriving investor community. Please share this podcast with a friend or a business associate that like you, is interested in learning from top mentors in the non-traditional investing, real estate, crypto, blockchain, buying debt, and so much more. Troy wants to give you a gift, so go to troyfullwood.com/book to get your free copy of Troy's latest book, The Power of Paper. Again, that's troyfullwood.com/book to get your free gift. Go check out the latest episodes and shows at the Thriving Investor community at thethriving.investor.com.